Hello, everybody, and welcome to another new player guide. This week, we are looking at Maria Hill. So, for anyone who's kind of new to this or just hasn't had the full experience of new player guides, every episode we are going to look at a hero, look at all the cards in their kit, look at their obligation and their Nemesis Kit, along with an example deck that is going to be comprised of the core set and the wave that they came from. So, like I said, this week, we're talking about a hero. We're talking about Maria Hill, who I would say is a little bit of a controversial character, only in the fact that she is very strong and feels very solved. And I don't want to say that that necessarily makes me like her less, but I feel like it has caused a divide where either you are somebody that enjoys Maria Hill or you're someone who doesn't enjoy Maria Hill. And I'll freely admit that I fall more on the side that I guess of the two, enjoyed Nick Fury more than Maria Hill. That doesn't change the fact that she's a fun hero, that she is definitely speaking to a certain player archetype that just does not happen to be the archetype that I necessarily always want to play when I play Marvel Champions. But all of that aside, no more drama. We are going to be talking about all the positives and the highs and lows of Maria Hill. Let's get into it. So Maria Hill is a alter ego with 3 recovery. She has the S.H.I.E.L.D and Spy trait, and you may include the maximum number of copies of 3 S.H.I.E.L.D supports in your deck from aspects other than your chosen aspect. We'll get to that in just a second. Action: exhaust Maria Hill, search your deck for a S.H.I.E.L.D support and add it to your hand. She has 6 hand size and 9 hit points. So let's go down this card right from the top. So she has this ability that for your deck building that you're able to include the maximum number of 3 different S.H.I.E.L.D supports outside of your own aspect. And this was a little bit confusing, and I don't remember if in the campaign box, because she came with the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D box, if there was like an FAQ that really sort of fleshed this out, or if it was buried in an article somewhere. But basically, the way that this works is that you choose S.H.I.E.L.D supports outside of whatever aspect you're picking, and when it says that you need to have the maximum number of that means that once you commit to, let's say you're in leadership and you commit to TAC Team, you are committing to adding 3 copies of TAC Team to your deck. If you choose a unique card, then you are committing to that 1 copy of that unique card. You can choose up to 3 different S.H.I.E.L.D supports. Any support outside of your aspect of S.H.I.E.L.D supports that you choose, you need to take the maximum number that is available. It reads a little weird, and if you're kind of new to the game, you might not necessarily understand what it means. That's what it means. Just if you choose supports outside of your aspect, you need to take the maximum number that you can fit into your deck, or the maximum number that can be used in a deck. And additionally, like her action ability, I think is actually an underrated ability. I did not take it seriously when the card first came out, but just the ability to exhaust her and search for a S.H.I.E.L.D support, she cares so much about S.H.I.E.L.D supports. And while she has some fairly decent stats on the other side, I will freely admit that she herself is just sort of like the conduit to have these S.H.I.E.L.D supports and other things gravitate around. So you're not really that concerned about exhausting her, because the cards that she's getting is really what her deck is going to be about. But let's get into the hero side. So on the hero side, we have Maria Hill, a 2 thwart, 1 attack, 2 defense hero with the S.H.I.E.L.D and Spy traits. Those carry over. Each ally you control gains the S.H.I.E.L.D trait. And she has the reassignment ability, which is an action. Move 1 all-purpose counter from a S.H.I.E.L.D support to another S.H.I.E.L.D support. Limit once per round. So what this is referring to are these. These are all-purpose counters. That is something that you may have already known that. You may have looked through the core set rulebook, and this gets called out as a all-purpose counter. The mistake I made early on was I thought that this was a new counter that Maria Hill herself creates, and I just didn't understand. So additionally, another way to think about this is that, let's say you have 2 S.H.I.E.L.D supports. Actually, let's just move her out of the way real quick. Her ability allows you to take one of these and move it to another one once per turn. That's going to be key to what she does. It is just kind of part of the general kind of play cycle, play pattern of Maria Hill. For established players, this is really nothing new. You kind of already knew that, and coming into it, you generally get that. But just for clarification, these are the all-purpose counters. They are called out in the core set rulebook. I think it's also called out in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. box, but it's something that like I myself didn't understand, and I think that as a new player may also make that same mistake. Like I said before, she has a decent thwart. 2 is pretty good. Attack is low, and defense is also decent. I don't view her as a character where these stats matter. Oh, and I guess she also has 5 hand size and 9 hit points. So she is, once again, her hero card is just sort of the conduit for everything else that happens around her. Doesn't make her a bad hero. In fact, the fact that her card basically extends into this entire suite of other cards kind of makes her, I would say, not extremely new player friendly, or I guess maybe more lenticular in design, where a new player can probably get what she's supposed to be doing. An experienced player is going to be able to break her in half. And that's sort of been the pattern, and sort of why, as a more experienced player, it's like I don't care for breaking a character in half, but I've watched her in play. She shifts the game. She makes you win more games. She is a powerful character. There's no question about that. It's just I think that she is a character that is going to be strong no matter what your skill level is, because, like I said, a new player is going to be able to understand and utilize her ability enough to get an enjoyment out of her. A experienced player is going to be able to take everything they know and just use her as kind of like the corner case for breaking a lot of the game in half. She has the ability to just be a very consistent hero. But real quickly, let's talk about some recommendations, because if you enjoy this kind of content, I think you're really going to enjoy some of the other content creators out there. If you enjoy our future discussion about Nemesis kits and encounter cards, go listen to Critical Encounters. They cover everything. They are currently making their way through the Age of Apocalypse wave, but they have done a deep dive into so much lore and so much of the encounter cards. Additionally, if you just enjoy listening to discussions about cards, go listen to The Winning Hand. Boom Guy also hosts a podcast on the same YouTube channel about just building decks, and they're also available in most podcast places as well. And then if you're looking for gameplay, go check out Rey Plays Games and Solo Marvel Champion along with Charred Gambit. And then MC Deck Discussions does some deep critical thinking about the game and deck building in ways that I just don't have the fortitude or capacity to do. So if you enjoy any of this content, go check out these other channels. They are great. And let's get into the remainder of the hero pack. And right off the bat, let's talk about her signature ally, Nick Fury, a 4-cost ally with 2 thwart, 2 attack, 3 health, and the shield trait. Has responsibility of after Nick Fury uses a basic power, place 1 all-purpose counter on a shield support. So this is just both of the heroes from the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. box had the other hero as their identity-specific character, as their identity-specific ally, and both of them did a very good job of just taking what the hero that they were attached to and amplifying what they were capable of. I think Nick Fury is a great ally. I think that the 4 does sting a little bit, but I think that if you are basically getting 3 activations out of him, you're not using him as a chump blocker, and you're just able to sort of keep one of your shield supports just on a little bit longer of a lifeline. And I'm not talking about we'll get into the bigger shield supports, because there are bigger shield supports that she cares about. But like the smaller ones that just sort of come in with like 2 to 4 all-purpose counters on them, I suppose why would you put them on there when you could just put them onto the big stuff? But either way, he helps to keep shield supports around longer, and that's just helpful. And it extends what Maria is doing. Overall, I think this is just a really good identity-specific ally. He's going to be helpful. And yeah, I don't view him as a character that you want to chump block with. You want to just try to get every activation out of him as you can, to maybe even heal him up, just to keep putting those all-purpose counters onto things, because that's just going to help you out in the long game. And Maria Hill is one of those characters that I think can win very quickly, but can also just play the long game really, really well. Next up, we have, I think, the only 3 copies. So we've got 3 copies. Yep, it's the only card in her kit that we've got 3 copies of, and that's 3 copies of Reinforcements. A 1-cost event, action, choose any number of shield supports with a combined printed cost of 6 or less. Place 1 all-purpose counter on each of those supports. The big supports that we care about are going to cost 6. We will get into the Iliad in just a second. But the big shield supports we care about do cost 6, so this gives you the ability to put 1 counter onto 1 shield support. If you happen to have smaller shield supports out there that cost, 2, 3, 4, and you can hit multiple of them, all the better. This is definitely one of those cards that does not read as extremely powerful, but I think that if you have the ability to put all-purpose counters onto multiple supports, that's only going to feed into your bigger supports even more. And in the long game is just going to make you more consistent. This is a hard card to evaluate because it is so dependent on the other cards you have out. I think we probably see plenty of examples of that, just where you just kind of have to take the person's word for it when they say that a card is good, because it just does so much for you. But it's good in those, like, this is one of those cards that is good in situations, and you just have to be in those situations. You just have to play the game to really see what this card is capable of. And it's not my favorite card in the kit, but I definitely see a lot of purpose, and I see a lot of power in this card. And the times that I have either played it or watched someone else play it, it can suddenly just change the math, because it's like, oh, I'm not going to run out of all-purpose counters this turn. We have another turn where I'm going to have all-purpose counters, maybe even 2 turns, because I'm going to move stuff around. But either way, fair card, but it's situational, and you will just learn how to play with this card properly over time. Next up, we've got 2 copies of On the Double, a 0-cost event. Action, ready any number of shield supports with a combined printed cost of 6 or less. Often, this just reads, pay 0, ready up your big bad support, that singular support. There is absolutely times when you will be able to get multiple uses out of this. You'll ready up multiple things, but be prepared for the fact that this is just going to ready up one thing. There's not a lot more to say because, well, again, like Reinforcements, this is a situational card. You are going to see the path to victory with this card in the moment. It's kind of hard to say, like, well, just, make sure you have 3s and 2s and 1 cost support so you can ready them all back up. It's like, no, you're probably going to have the one big shield support that is making a difference for you, and that's just what it's going to be. I mean, is there a chance that you're going to have out like Tac Team and Helicarrier, and you're going to ready them both back up, and you're going to get extra damage, and you reduce the cost of the next thing? Sure, but is there also a chance that you're going to have the Pericles out, and it's just going to do its thing again? Absolutely, and that probably is what you're going to be doing. That, getting back to my gripes with Maria Hill, a lot of the things are just find the best big shield support, the Helicarriers of the world, the vehicles that she has, that she has access to, and just spam them until you win. And then this is one of those cards that helps with that. Then we have 2 copies of All Points Bulletin, a 2-cost event hero action. For each shield support you control, choose to either remove 1 threat from a scheme or deal 1 damage to an enemy. So a point of value here is that Maria Hill does not have any attack traded or thwart traded cards. Oh, this is also a tactic traded. I think the last couple cards have not had any sort of trade on them. So this is a tactic. I don't know that necessarily matters too much, but it's a tactic. But this is one of those cards that basically subs in for her thwarting and her attack. I have seen this do so much work, where you just, everything in play is a shield support in some form or fashion, and you just get to deal 8 damage and remove a threat. You get to deal 9 damage and remove 3 threat. Or you just get to take the main scheme completely down to 0 from like 14. Like, it doesn't make sense sometimes what happens. I watched going to Con of Heroes. I don't remember what the number was, but I watched Andy N, who made the Mr. Negative custom content. Right before Con of Heroes started, he was like doing the lobby games, and yeah, he was like, I think it was like somewhere between 12 and 14 that he got to do off of this, and it's just, It's incredible. I definitely think that this is a fun way to get around attack and thwart events. You don't get to take advantage of attack events or thwart events, but you get to take advantage of the fact that you can get confused and stunned all you want. There's nothing stopping All Points Bulletin from just going to town, and that's really cool. And then wrapping up the multiples, we have 2 copies of Special Funding. It's a resource that generates a mental and a physical resource, and responds after you spend this card to pay for a shield support. Place 1 all-purpose counter on that support after it enters play. The fun thing here is that let's say you play out something like Helicarrier that does not have any kind of doesn't have a use for the all-purpose counter. That's still an all-purpose counter that Maria can just move on to something else. So this allows you to get all-purpose counters onto things that then can be moved to cards you've already had in play. And even if that is just not the play pattern and you happen to keep 2 of these and then play out one of your 6-cost supports, well, now that 6-cost support comes in with 2 extra all-purpose counters on it. This is not like the best card in her pack. The best card in her pack we will get to in just a second. I think it's the next card. But it is a card that I think is underrated just in the fact that it does it similar to what was that called? Similar to reinforcements. It just changes the math, and it makes your things better, and it allows you to be more and more creative with what you're doing. I think the longer I talk about this, the more I'm just like, maybe I do like Maria Hill. It's just I don't like the general play pattern, but I'm like, I love the giant spreadsheet of things you could be doing, and like this is one of those cards that just makes you want to pull out Excel spreadsheets and start trying to figure out like the map of how you can win the game. All right, then let's move on to the singleton cards. The first of which is going to be the Iliad, which is my favorite card in the pack. I think it's probably many people's favorite card. I think it's probably the best card in her pack. It is a 6-cost support, shield vehicle traded. It comes with 3 uses. They are mission counters. And an action of exhaust the Iliad and remove 1 mission counter from it. Choose to either deal 5 damage to an enemy, remove 4 threat from a scheme, or heal 3 damage from an enemy. From an identity. This is a pretty potent card. Not only can you just deal 5 damage, not only can you remove 4 threat from a scheme, but you have the ability to heal up an identity for what I think is a pretty substantial amount. 3 is how much some characters recover for. So the ability to, I guess additionally, this is not a hero action. You can do this in Alter Ego. And actually I should look at that. Of the cards that we've already looked at, I didn't even think about this. So All Points Bulletin is a hero action. On the double is just an action, and reinforcements is just an action. So you can very easily sit in Alter Ego and do a lot of things with Maria Hill. The Iliad is right up there with that same mentality. You can be an Alter Ego, deal 5 damage to an enemy, remove 4 threat from a scheme, and you don't even have to worry about being attacked. You can just sit there and play this out. And the setback here is that you will not be in hero form to be able to move counters around. But this starts with 3. You have time before you need to flip over and start moving counters around. This is just such an incredible card. The healing 3, I saying its praises, is probably the weakest mode of this. The dealing 5 damage and the removing 4 threat is what most people will probably use this for. But at the end of the day, this is just an incredible card. I think that the fact that this is an identity-specific card is probably the only thing that makes it fair. If this was a aspect card, it would be just a busted card. But the fact that it's tied exclusively to Maria Hill, the fact that it costs 6, just means that it's good, but it's supposed to be good because it's specifically for one character. I love this, and I hope that you do as well. Then we've got the Hard Call, a 2-cost event, hero action. Discard a shield support you control, so take it from play and put it into the discard pile, not discard from your hand. So discard a shield support you control. Deal X damage to each enemy, where X is the printed cost of the discarded support. This is not a bad card, but this is the kind of card that you sort of use to end the game. You decide that it's time for that shield support you have that has one more counter on it that costs 6. You just take one of the helicarrier vehicles down and just deal 6 to each enemy. And that's generally the way that you clear the board to make it so that you can just take out the the villain. And I guess the important thing here, like I said before, about us not having an attack or thwart event is you don't care about patrol, you don't care about guard, because your events circumvent that. And this just being able to say, hey, there's a guard minion, but I need to get like some damage in, so I'm just going to drop a vehicle onto everything. The one guard minion will go away, and that will allow me to make attacks against the villain that can end the game. Like, that's kind of pie in the sky. It's probably not going to happen all the time, but it is a relevant line of play that you can take. Is that this can just be your way to absolutely clear the way and make sure that damage gets doled out. And yeah, it is the hard call, but it's the hard call because it means, I guess the game's going to be over. And we've got Life Model Decoy, a card that I expect to see a reprint of if we ever have a Dr. Doom hero card, because it'll just be called like Doombot. But it is a 2-cost upgrade, is a preparation tech traded card with an interrupt ability of when an enemy attacks you, discard Life Model Decoy, prevent all damage from that attack. So this takes her just being a fairly low hit point hero with 9 and just extends her, gives her an extra bit of reach. The nice thing here is it prevents all the damage. If you're fighting someone like Ronan, you're still going to have to hand over the Power Stone, but you're going to avoid taking 7 damage. And that's what's important. This is one of those cards. The preparation also adds a lot. The tech adds a lot. That's going to be able to get you different... it's going to be important in different situations. But either way, this is just a good meat and potatoes card that's nice to have around. And yeah, just keeps you alive. Then we've got Support Staff, a 1-cost support, Persona Shield, importantly coming with 3 all-purpose counters for staff counters. And it is a resource exhaust support staff, and remove 1 staff counter from it. Generate a wild resource for a player whose identity has the shield trait. And yeah, this is just great. It is just a way to generate resources. And as I've kind of gotten more and more experience, the more I've realized that games do not go on turn-wise nearly as long as you might think they do. The game only really lasts like 6, 8, 9 turns. So this comes down and it creates value for you for 3 turns. You can also move counters onto this to continue to get resources, or you can just be very cutthroat and say these counters are going to get moved on to other things where they have better value. And I think that's one of the strong things about Maria Hill is she's able to take whatever is the most valuable thing in a game and say, this is what I'm going to prioritize. This shield support is going to do its thing, and it's going to do it the best, and that's what's going to be important. And this is one of those cards that adds to it. It's either something that you do want to use or something you just want to get the counters off of to improve something else. Last card we have up is Director of S.H.I.E.L.D, S.H.I.E.L.D. Director, a 2-cost upgrade, title traded action again. Exhaust S.H.I.E.L.D. Director, place 1 all-purpose counter on a shield support. So this is not a card that I will freely say that I have aggressively mulliganed for, but I think it's a card that you should consider maybe aggressively mulliganing for, because this just adds more counters and will help you over the course of the game. That said, your mileage may vary. You might say, hey, I much more would prefer to have, these other cards in my hand, and I'm not going to worry about S.H.I.E.L.D. Director. S.H.I.E.L.D. Director will make a positive impact on the game. It's not the most important card, and it certainly can be passed over. But yeah, at the end of the day, just good card, and it's going to just passively help you to do what you're trying to do. It's an action, so you can do it in Alter Ego. You can play a lot of the game from Alter Ego from Maria Hill. But that is it for the cards in her pack. We can now move on to the example deck before we talk about the Obligation and Nemesis set. All right, and here we are with the example deck that I have built today. And yeah, we are going to be taking a look at this new player deck built using the core set, the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D, Black Panther, Falcon, and Winter Soldier. So a pretty wide spectrum of the wave, but again, it is all condensed to the core set and the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D wave. I think it's going to be a pretty good time. Let's get into it. So right off the bat, obviously we have her established cards that we've already talked about. One of the things I wanted to try to get out of this was I wanted to put it into aggression because the Winter Soldier pack gave us shield related upgrades in the form of weapons, and then a event that we can take advantage with that. One of the things that I do think is probably a glaring issue with the deck, but I'm not too concerned about, is just that we don't have the basic resources. But let's get into everything else that is a glaring issue that I don't know that needs to get necessarily addressed. I kind of tested this deck out a little bit just to see how it would fare, and I never felt like not having genius, energy, or strength was a huge hindrance, but that might just be that my priorities were not in the right place. So right off the bat, we have Captain America Steve Rogers, a 4-cost aggression ally with 2 attack, 2 thwart, and 3 health. It has the shield and soldier traits and toughness. And then with a response of after Captain America enters play, ready a shield character. So because Maria Hill is able to give the shield trait to any of our allies, most of our allies already have that trait, but this will just mean that we get to ready up heroes, or we get to ready up allies that may not necessarily have been designed to be readied up in this particular way. Even if all we're doing is readying up other characters that already have the shield trait, this is still a good ability. And yeah, just comes down, does its job. This is definitely one where I would want to just come down, ready up a hero, ready up a shield character, get into my attacks, maybe chump block, and just let Steve Rogers go on his way. He does have toughness, so you're going to be able to probably get a little bit of extra use out of that 3 health. But at the end of the day, yeah, this is kind of an expendable hero that just has a good body and a good enters play effect. Then we've got Dum Dum Dugan, who we've seen in multiple places, but comes out of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. A basic ally for 5 with 3 attack, 3 thwart, and 5 health. The attack has 2 consequential damage. The thwart has 3 consequential damage. And wow, this doesn't necessarily seem like the best card. What's going on here? So he has an interrupt of when you use one of Dum Dum Dugan's basic powers, exhaust up to 3 shield cards you control, which kind of combos with Captain America because he'll be able to ready them back up. For each card exhausted this way, Dum Dum Dugan gets +1 to that power for this use. So that means you can take characters that maybe don't have a lot of attack or are just low on health and say, hey, we're going to bump up Dum Dum's attack to 6, his thwart to 6. You can exhaust supports that you just, either you don't need to exhaust at all, or that you just aren't going to be using for the turn, and yeah, just go at it. This is definitely a card that I think got improved by the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. wave. There's just more variety and more uses for him, but he was a card that I liked when I first saw him and just wished was better, and I think he's gotten better, and he's just a good card to have around. Then we have, oops, let's see, too many screens. Then we have Melinda May, a 4-cost ally, basic, with 2 thwart, 2 attack, 3 health. Is a shield and spy traded card with a response of after Melinda May uses a basic power, look at the top card of the encounter deck, you may discard that card. So just having that knowledge of what's coming. Obviously we've seen with Falcon, he allows you to basically know the top card of the encounter deck going into the villain phase. This is just a way to kind of have a mini version of that. If you want to get rid of the card, go for it. But if it's like going to be a soft boost card, or you have a confuse or a confuse or a stun status on the villain, so this is going to be your encounter card, you know what your encounter card is going to be. Yeah, not the best card in the world, but definitely if you're playing with shield cards, and we are playing with shield cards, this is going to be able to do something for you. It's a good option to, when you don't need to use this response, just bump up Dum Dum Dugan by 1 and go to town. Then we've got Nick Fury Sr., a 4-cost basic ally with 2 thwart, 2 attack, 3 health, and the shield and soldier traits. Force response, after Nick Fury Sr. enters play, choose 1. Remove 3 threat from a scheme, draw 2 cards, or give a shield character a tough status. At the end of the round, if Nick Fury Sr. is still in play, discard him. So very similar to classic Nick Fury from the core set. This is just a different version. I have very often used this to just draw 2 cards, but the other options, remove 3 threat from the scheme, is very viable. Putting a tough status onto a shield character, also viable. If you want to, you can put it onto him and just make his attack for free, and then you just have 3 health to fight any kind of like overkill shenanigans against the villain. But overall, it's not the best card, but when we've already got Nick Fury in the deck based on the identity-specific card, then just having an extra copy of the classic effect, even if it's a different version, but just having that effect on hand, something similar, is just nice to have. Then we've got Tigra, who is one of the characters who's going to be gaining the shield trait with Maria Hill. She is a Avenger traded ally with 1 thwart, 2 attack, 3 health, and a response of after Tigra attacks and defeats a minion, heal 1 damage from her. This is entirely a symptom of having a smaller card pool, but I think that if you're going to be adding something to your deck from the aggression, from the smaller card pool, this is not a bad example. If you have any kind of way to just help her to defeat minions easier, she's going to stick around for a while. She's going to be a very good ally to have around. And yeah, she's not too bad. If she has the shield trait, she just adds to what Dum Dum Dugan's able to do. Overall, she's not the best ally around, but she definitely is one that I think is probably worthwhile to try out with this limited card pool. And the last card we have here is Bucky Barnes, Winter Soldier, an aggression ally that costs 3, has 1 thwart, 2 attack, 3 health, the soldier and shield traits, and when Winter Soldier attacks and defeats an enemy, remove 2 threat from scheme. So this is very similar to his hero form, but yeah, just overall, this is nice to have. It allows you to do something against minions and still be able to handle the scheme on different side schemes or main scheme, whatever. Just a good utility card to have, and one that I would definitely say that if you are in multiplayer and somebody can give you a little extra health, is going to help this deck out a lot. Even without the smaller card pool, I think putting Maria Hill into aggression and taking advantage of this is a good call. Then we move on to the events where we have Firepower, a 1-cost event. Hero action, exhaust up to 3 weapon upgrades you control. For each weapon upgrade exhausted this way, choose an enemy and deal 3 damage to it. This attack gains ranged. So this is just a nice way to take the weapons that we'll be talking about in a second, give them a little bit extra utility. Now, I don't know, we'll check out in a second, I don't know that all of them exhaust to do their thing, so this is just kind of free damage. This was a card that I was going to dial back the number of in an attempt to get the general resource cards into the deck, and it just kind of like never felt right. But if you wanted to dial this back to 1 or 2, if you wanted to put this down to 2 to get an extra resource, and then maybe just go for the 41st card of another resource, have at it. I do think this is maybe the card that could be, you don't need to have 3 copies, because I don't know that it's the most important card in the deck. Then we have Super Spies, which is a team-up card, costs 0, which is just perfect. A hero action, place 3 all-purpose counters and or threat tokens on a shield support and or suit form upgrades. So this really is kind of bending around because it's trying to feed both the Nick Fury hero and the Maria Hill hero. For the most part, this is just a card that if you have Nick Fury out, Nick Fury, your identity-specific ally out, you're able to just put 3 all-purpose counters onto a shield support you control, which is just helpful. Or I guess you could spread it out too. You could put 1, 1, and 1, or what have you, or 1 and 2. But yeah, overall, this is just a good card that I think if you can make it happen, make it happen. It's one of the few team-up cards that I feel like I want to have around because, like I said earlier, Nick Fury is an ally that I'm not using as a chump blocker. I want to try to get as many activations out of him as I can, which means he's going to be around for hopefully 3 turns. Moving on to the supports, since we are able to search these out, we can be kind of a little bit greedy with the number of supports we have in the deck. First one being Helicarrier, classic card out of the core set. Exhaust Helicarrier, cost 3, And you can exhaust the helicarrier to choose a player, reduce the resource cost of the next card that player plays by 1. So this is just helpful. It allows you to just make your cards cheaper. And then if it's just sitting around, it is a card that you can Dum Dum Dugan with. You can probably do other things, other interactions that I haven't thought about. But yeah, just it's a good card, and it's a card out of the core set that I think you probably want to play with anyway. Then we've got Sky Destroyer. This is a reprint. I think it originally showed up in the Sinister Motives deck, but with Miles Morales. But it is Sky Destroyer, a 3-cost basic support, shield, and vehicle traded. After you play a shield card, exhaust Sky Destroyer, deal 2 damage to an enemy. This can be super nice. This can just help with Dum Dum Dugan if you just didn't have a shield card to play this turn. But basically, so many of our cards are shield traded that this is just going to be a free 2 damage every turn. And yeah, just really, really good. And if nothing else, this is a card that I think really makes any Maria Hill deck because she has so much shield going on. Then we've got 3 copies of Tac Team, a 3-cost support. In aggression, it has 3 uses of attack counters and action. Importantly, action is not a hero action. Action, exhaust Tac Team and remove 1 attack counter from it, deal 2 damage to an enemy. So this is helpful. It puts things into what I would call Bucky range, put them into the spot where Bucky can defeat them and then do his thing. It also helps with Tigra. It also just has uses that you can use to put onto your bigger shield supports that you care about, like the Iliad. Then we've got 3 copies of Target Spotter, a 1-cost support, 2 uses, Persona and Shield traded. Interrupt when a minion would engage a player. Remove 1 target counter from here. That minion cannot activate until the end of the phase. Engage that minion. So to me, this is a card that is purely here to just have counters on it to move to other things. You will absolutely have a chance to get a use out of this. But for the most part, this just has 2 all-purpose counters that can be moved somewhere else. And that is the strategy of why I have it in the deck. Then we've got one of our big shield supports, the Bellafron. I do not know how to pronounce these, but a 6-cost support, has 3 uses. It is shield and vehicle traded. Has 3 missile counters on it. An action, exhaust this card and remove 1 missile counter from it and choose a player. Deal 3 damage to the villain and each minion engaged with that player. Discard all tough status counters from those enemies first. This is a big old blast. I have talked very positively about Iceman's card that kind of mimics this and Storm's card that mimics this. This is a very good card. It is expensive and you absolutely want to have the ability to play it. I am shocked that not having the basic resources in this deck did not stop me from being able to play cards like this. You just have the ability to generate enough resources to just get one of these out and just go to town, and it's stupendous. You have, if you get special funding, this comes into play with 4 counters on it, and yeah, it comes into play, it does its thing, and it's incredible. Then we have the Circe, 6-cost support, shield, vehicle traded, 2 uses, exhaust the Circe, remove 1 deployment counter from it, the counters that it comes into play with, choose a player, that player puts an ally into play from their hand. This is one that I feel like I have a healthy amount of allies. We have the 7 allies. This is the one that I feel like is probably here for really more as like a emergency button. We need to get allies into play consistently, and obviously you're paying 6 when you could just be putting them into play. But you know, the cards cost the card in your hand plus the card that you're playing. So this can be a way to kind of circumvent the total cost of playing all these stuff out. But this is maybe the weakest of the vehicles that I put into the deck, but is definitely one that when it's good, and it just allows you to just shoot an ally into play for free, circumventing the cost. So I guess it's a good way to say in the future, I just get 2 allies in 2 subsequent turns into play, or if I have a way to ready up, which this isn't a character, so Captain America can't ready this up. If he could inspire it to ready back up, that would be incredible. Then the last support is the Pericles, very synonymous with Maria Hill. 6 cost support, shield vehicle traded, 2 supply counters on it with uses. Action, exhaust the Pericles and remove 1 supply counter from it. Give a hero or villain a status counter of your choice, or status card of your choice. Give a ally or minion a status card of your choice. This is maybe the one card that came out of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that I think might have been the most of a mistake. This is a very, very, very strong card. You can just status lock the villain for the remainder of the game. You can status lock a minion for the remainder of the game. You can just give a tough to your hero, give a tough to an ally, and yeah, just whatever. Confuse the villain, stun a minion, whatever. This is a very strong card. It is so, so, so strong. And it's the kind of card that I didn't even want to include, but I was like, oh, but I kind of have to. If I'm going to give a new player guide, I need to make sure that the part of the game that's important for Maria Hill is there. And the Pericles is a card that might as well be a Maria Hill staple. Moving on to the upgrades, we have 1 copy of Bambino, a 3-cost upgrade with the tech and weapon traits attached to a shield character. While attached to an identity, this card gains restricted, so while it's on a hero, it is a restricted card. It has 3 ammo counters for its uses, and an interrupt of when attached character makes a basic attack, remove 1 ammo counter from here. This attack deals 3 additional damage and gains overkill. So this is just like a super version of the hand cannon. Importantly, it does not exhaust to do its thing, so you can still do firepower with this. But yeah, being able to add this to an ally or to Maria Hill is going to be important. She has really low attack, so giving her the ability to just sort of like attack for 1 and deal 3 additional damage, plus overkill, is strong and good. And giving this to the Winter Soldier is even better. Just make it so that when he does defeat those minions, he is removing threat, but he's also overkilling into the villain. It's just a super strong card and one that you definitely want to have on hand. And last thing is 3 copies of S.H.I.E.L.D. Sidearm, a 1-cost upgrade with the weapon trait attached to a S.H.I.E.L.D. character. Limit 1 per character, has 3 uses in the form of ammo counters, and an interrupt of when attached character makes a basic attack, exhaust S.H.I.E.L.D. Sidearm and remove 1 ammo counter from it, deal 1 additional damage. So this does exhaust, do its thing, but if you happen to have firepower around, you're just not going to exhaust it for that 1 damage this turn. You're going to exhaust it to deal 3 damage to something. Again, this is just good. Everything we have in play is going to be a S.H.I.E.L.D. character while we're in hero form. And yeah, this is just a good, strong card to have, and it helps to fill out the firepower archetype that we're building here. So yes, this is a little bit of a going a little bit off script in terms of Maria Hill. She's a very good leadership hero, but I think that there is now the option with the Winter Soldier deck, with the Winter Soldier pack, to bring her into aggression in a fun way. So yeah, that would be the example deck. Try it out for yourself. I think it's pretty good. Let's get into the Obligation and Nemesis kit. And we are back to talk about the Obligation and Nemesis set, starting right off the bat with our Obligation press conference. Give to the Maria Hill player, should be expected. Force response, after the player phase ends, remove 1 all-purpose counter from each support you control. This can be very gutting. Alter Ego action, exhaust your identity, discard this card. So because you can play an Alter Ego so much of the game, this is pretty light. You might get it, and then you just don't go get a shield support this turn. You go in Alter Ego, or you're already in Alter Ego, you exhaust, you get rid of this. It's pretty soft. Now, if you choose to just rough your way through it, this can be very debilitating just because it is going to be putting a timer on everything you're doing. Once the counters get removed from your shield supports, I think pretty much across the board, when there's 0 on them, they just go away. I don't think there's any that like don't indicate that. I think they all have uses. So yes, this is one of those ones where you can try to stick your way through it and just kind of like try to cap off the game. If you're in the last turn, you don't care about this. But if you're early on, you're just like, well, I guess I am just exhausting my Alter Ego for the turn, and that's just what it is. Not too bad. Not too afraid of this, but it definitely has its contextual moments when it is not a card you want to see. Moving on to the Nemesis, and let's also put in the side scheme that comes with it. So we have the controller. It is a minion with 2 scheme, 1 attack, 6 health. It is elite and psionic and has a force response, which is tied to both of its abilities. After controller activates against you, remove 1 all-purpose counter from a support. If controlled innocence is in play, put the top card of your deck into play face down, engage with you as a controlled minion. So we will get to that in controlled innocence in just a second. The side scheme is a side scheme with 3 threat per player, has the crisis icon, and when revealed, find controlled innocence environment and put it into play. And when defeated, discard each controlled minion, place 1 all-purpose counter on a support for each minion discarded this way. And I guess for just context here, controlled innocence is an environment. Each face-down controlled minion engaged with a player has a scheme of 1, a base attack of 1, and a hit point of 1. Force response. After a controlled minion is defeated, place that card in its owner's discard pile and place 1 threat on the main scheme. So the game here is that you definitely want to basically resolve these as quickly as possible and get controlled innocence to just be an environment that is out, but that you're not concerned with, because controlled minions are not going to be being defeated. They're not going to be adding threat to the main scheme. You basically want to just take advantage of the fact that these controlled minions are going to be here. You are going to defeat this, discard them, put counters back onto your supports. For the most part, the 6 health might be the scariest part, in my opinion. Just trying to work your way through and have the controller go away so that he's not making the game any worse for you. He's not stealing all-purpose counters from a support of yours. But overall, I personally think this is pretty soft. I'm not too afraid of her Nemesis Kit like I am with other people. This is absolutely something that can get out of control, but not something that I would put too much concern on. And yeah, just controlled innocence. It's just, if you've played Ultron, you sort of get what this is. It just has a little extra caveat that can kind of ruin your timer a little bit. As long as the controlled minions are not gaining guard, you're probably fine. And then the last cards we're talking about today are Diabolical Discs. 2 copies. They are Treacheries with Surge. When revealed, remove 1 all-purpose counter from a support. If controlled innocence is in play, put the top card of your deck face down, engage with you as a controlled minion. So the setback here is that if you happen to defeat the controller and the side scheme, I suppose the side scheme is the most important thing in this case, you're not going to get the advantage of getting the all-purpose counters on to supports for each minion that's defeated, or for each minion that is discarded based on that side scheme's defeat trigger. This is going to affect you. You are going to start putting threat onto the main scheme when you defeat them. But again, hopefully you are drawing into all of this late enough into the game that this is not a huge disadvantage to you. Surge certainly makes it so that you can just kind of like surge into multiple things and it can get out of hand. But for the most part, I'm not too concerned about this. This is what I consider to be a pretty soft Nemesis Kit. And that is it for Maria Hill. I think she is a very good hero. I think she is a hero that, like I said before, there is value when you are a new player. There is value when you are an established player. I just happen to think that her play pattern is solved and a little boring. And I don't have too much more to say about that. I think that she is a hero that I think is, for a new player, maybe a little complicated, but I think that her general vibe and her general power level for a new player is probably very appealing. It's not a character that I would necessarily give to someone as their first character. I would probably start with a Corset hero or someone who's a little bit more like just linear and kind of tunnel visioned. But at the same time, if this is who you play with for the first time, You're probably going to miss a lot of stuff, but you're probably going to still enjoy yourself because she is very powerful. And if you're just kind of given the guidance of keep spamming this particular support, you're going to be golden. But yeah, that is it. Until next time, when we talk about Silk, we will see you all in the next one. But yeah, have a great day, and I will see you next time.